guys, welcome to today's video. So as you can see from the title, I'm going to be talking about something that I feel like a lot of people think about as well, or are in the same position, or are curious minds want to know. Actually, before I get started, can we just admire this painting I did, because I'm really proud of it and I'm trying to show it off to everyone. But I recently picked up painting as a hobby because right now Korea's got locked down at 9 and we can't really do anything, so I've been trying to figure out like hobbies. So this is one of my paintings. Anyways, more to come on those paintings. Maybe I'll just line them up here as I go along. Moving on. So the question that people have asked me quite often actually is, am I planning to live in Korea forever? Do I see myself in Korea long term, or do I see myself moving back home? And I mean, this is kind of an always ever changing question, because obviously we don't really know where life's gonna take us. I obviously have thought about this a lot as well. And mind you, I did plan to only be in Korea for 2 years. I was like, 2 years, that's it. Then I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna figure it out again and go back and work and make a lot of money and be a corporate businesswoman like I always kind of imagined myself to be. And then cut to 5 years later, I'm still here. So I think for me at the moment, Korea is still kind of home base. I've really set up, obviously after 5 years, I've really set up a little life for myself. I have a little community of friends, and I have a community of friends who aren't just foreigner friends who are going to stay here and leave Korea. And I think that's one of the bigger reasons people do leave, is because they make all these friends, but the friends, you know, 90% of the time, if they're foreigners, for example, they're going to be moving back to their home country, and then you find yourself without friends. So there was a point in time where I also kind of felt that way too, where suddenly a lot of people I knew like just left, and kind of left at the same time. And you know, I definitely felt that, which is why I think I made a much more, I guess, assertive effort to make friends, Korean friends, and also other foreigner friends who I kind of knew had more of a long-term mindset of being in Korea. That's a little bit unfortunate to say, because you shouldn't not be friends with someone because you know they're leaving, but at the same time I also understand that sacrifice and the kind of the toll it takes, where you know, you make all these friends, you spend all your time together, but knowing that they're going to leave, it's, well, then you're kind of just abandoning me here to be by myself. So obviously there's that struggle. So I did make a concerted effort to make different friends, different kind of categories of friends, if you will. And I found that does help, because obviously I'm still here. And I think another thing about Korea, obviously I've also recently done a massive career move, and I'm moving to this entertainment visa, which is very unstable and life is uncertain, and so I don't know where that's gonna take me. But because of that, you know, I think career is a big focus when you think about living in Korea and living in Korea long term, because career-wise, I did work corporate America for a few years back in New York, and I worked at, you know, I did like the big campaigns, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, but that was 5 years ago. And I worked in mostly the digital media marketing space, and that industry is always evolving, always changing. And I feel like because I left that life so long ago, I'm pretty much useless at this point. I mean, I'm sure they're still using the same old systems. It's like how a company never changes from the old Windows laptops that are from like the 80s. I'm sure there are certain systems in place that didn't change, but the landscape itself is obviously evolving always. And so I feel like if I went back to that, I'd have to start over from the bottom. And that's pretty much goes with any industry I'd start with in New York or in America, because basically I don't really, you know, teaching experience, teaching English is not really something I can bring into that. And so I'd have to figure out again like what I want to do, and I have to get a job, and I have to start from the bottom. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't know if I want to do that right now again. Starting from the bottom was really hard, coming straight out of uni and being an assistant and like climbing up the rung after hours and hours spent at this kind of thankless cubicle that I was always at. just not really the life for me. And I think that's one of the bigger reasons too, is just that if I went back to New York, what would be there for me? What would I possibly be able to do is also something that's kind of prevented me from moving back home. And I think that's something a lot of people also think about. A lot of people I know who move to Korea and then who eventually move back home, they go to graduate school most of the time, almost all the time. Or they find a job and then they start working from there. But again, they have to start from the bottom. I don't know. It kind of puts me at a disadvantage. The longer I stay here, the harder it is to go back and move on career-wise. So I think that's something that's also I've thought a lot about. And then obviously that connects to like a financial stability standpoint, where I just wouldn't, realistically, I wouldn't be able to afford anything if I moved back to New York. I'd have to move back in with my family because rent in the city is just astronomical. I wouldn't really be able to afford anything, so I would have had to save a lot of money here to bring back. And then I think financially, cost of living wise, I mean, think about this. America does not have universal health care. They have privatized health insurance. So I think this is like, I think the best example I can give in terms of cost of living and sustainability in that sense. When I was working in corporate America, I had some of the best health, I mean, this is like major, like top 100 Forbes companies, and my health insurance was like standard company health insurance, right? If I went to the doctor for anything, my copay was always $30. Just my copay. I moved to Korea, and for example, I went to the doctor just last week because they have national health care in Korea. I paid 4,900 won just for my copay. And then for my prescription medicine, I paid 2,500 won. That in itself is such a good example of what is accessible and what is affordable, and the cost of living standards. So I think if you think about it that way, obviously Korea is a much more advantageous place to be. A community, career path, financial stability, cost of living, those are all kind of pinpoints of why moving back to New York is not really that exciting for me or that attractive to me at this point. Obviously, I love New York. It's the best city in the world still, in my opinion. I live and breathe, I rep it hard. It's my favorite place in the world. But could I live there again? If I won the lottery, yeah. And then other people have asked, what about moving to other parts of America? And to be perfectly honest, guys, the rest of America does not appeal to me. Sorry. But to be fair, I haven't traveled to too much of America. I much prefer traveling to other countries and experiencing other cultures. So I never really traveled America to such a full extent. But the thought of it does not appeal to me. I think if I were to move somewhere else, I've definitely debated moving to other countries. Europe is a bit out of the question because it's again, the whole expense. It comes down to like a financial standpoint, but also I don't have any ties to Europe, so I really have to be starting over. I mean, I studied abroad in Paris, and so I lived in Europe for about 7 months, and I traveled to a bunch of different countries, and it was amazing. I mean, studying abroad was the best time of my life during uni. I think everyone should study abroad if they can, or backpack. I love Europe, and I would love to be able to live there actually, but it would be just really hard for me to, you know, get a job there, especially because I need a visa, and again, I have to start over kind of from scratch. So that is a little bit tricky. Now, moving to another Asian country is probably the most realistic next move for me, is because I'm a dual citizen, so I do have a Taiwanese passport, and with a Taiwanese passport, there's like a special card, I guess is what you can call it. I don't know what it's called in English, but it's called 台胞证, and you know, like having that lets me easily work and have access to China, for example, if I wanted to move there. I did always have a childhood dream of working and living in Japan, but I feel like that the working culture in Japan is a little bit intense. It's like corporate America, but worse. And because I don't speak Japanese, it would just be an extra, what would I even be able to offer them? I think realistically, somewhere in China or moving to Taiwan would be the most realistic, but I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. The dream the dream is to be able to bit of a nomad and be able to kind of digitally freelance wherever I want and then have a home base somewhere, obviously. Whether that's Korea, I don't know yet. I feel like the reason most people live in Korea forever is mostly because they get married. Whereas for me, looking up how my dating life has been going, not so likely. I finally just made that career move, moving from teaching to this entertainment world that I'm not quite as familiar with, and that's really scary for me and very unstable and uncertain. So gonna figure this out first, and then who knows? Who knows? My answer to this question is really always changing, so I thought I'd give a quick little update. It's not very quick, I know. I will see you guys in the new year. Happy 2022. Can't believe we made it. Let's hope Corona goes to an end. So guys, I wish you a very safe and happy, healthy New Year's. I hope everyone is, you know, staying safe and you get to at least have a really nice New Year's Eve celebration with your loved ones or with yourself. Do what you gotta do, you know? But yeah, I will see you in 2022, guys. Bye.